Well, we'd like to welcome everybody to our monthly webinar, the PTAC Advancement and Recognition webinar, and this is held the third Thursday of every month. Today is Thursday, May 18th, and we are going to be focusing on special needs scouting with attention to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or as it's more commonly known, ADHD. This will be our last session until August. We're going to take June and July off to enjoy summer camp. So we hope you come back the third Thursday of every month, starting back in August. And we're going to be talking about Advanced Scout Book. So please stay tuned to that schedule. And let's introduce our presenters for this evening. The Pathway to Adventure Council Special Needs Committee is a very, very influential and strong one, advocating for any of our youth that need any additional special attention for whatever issues that they may have in their lives that prevent them from being a part of the traditional track that many youth have the advantage of. And tonight we are very, very excited to have two very important members from that committee who have lived their lives supporting special needs and helping to advocate for as long as I've known both of them. So there's nobody more wise on this topic than our two presenters tonight, Petek Erkan Demiritas and Dave Leahy. So everyone, please welcoming me and joining them to the stage, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for that introduction there. I don't know if we can live up to that, but I'm not sure everybody knows that we do have a full committee, and we're here to help all the leaders and youth in any of our scout organizations, from Cub Scouts through Venturing and Scouts BSA. So with that, I will turn it over to Petek, and we'll get started.
Oh, hi. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Petek Erkan Demiritas, and I'm getting my master's degree in special education. So I'm really in this, ADHD presentation. I just would like to start sharing our, the presentation. I'm sorry. Oh, so sorry. Technical issues, I'm so sorry. And I don't know what's going on. Just give.
We were seeing your screen.
I'm sorry, I'm unmuted, so I'm going to share the screen again. Sorry about. There we go.
All right, we got it. We're
Yeah,
good.
finally, sorry about the inconvenience. So today we are going to talk about ADHD. So attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, is a chronic condition that affects millions of children and often continues in adulthood. ADHD includes combination of persistent problems such as difficulty sustaining attention, hyperactivity, and impulse behavior. Children with ADHD may also struggle with low self-esteem, troubled relationships, and poor performance in most activities. In fact, around 2.8% of global population lives with ADHD. About 11% of USA children 4 to 17 years old are living with symptoms of ADHD. Boys are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than girls. Black non-Hispanic children and white non-Hispanic children are more often diagnosed with ADHD than Hispanic children or Asian non-Hispanic children. But according to some experts, ADHD is underdiagnosed, so the prevalence could be higher. A national parent survey from 2016 reported on medication and behavior treatment for children 2 to 17-year-old age with current ADHD. So this is the statistics. The 62% were taking ADHD medications. 47 received behavior treatment. Altogether, 77 were receiving treatment. Of these children, about 30 were treated with medication alone, 15% received behavior treatment alone, about 32 children with ADHD received both medication treatment and behavior treatment. About 23% children with ADHD were receiving neither medication treatment nor behavior treatment. Okay, from the outside, ADHD may look like it's just fidgeting and daydreaming, but there's a lot more to this condition than what meets the eye. And ADHD doesn't always look the same from person to person. For instance, you might appear absent-minded while someone else has challenges with organization. Many symptoms involve attention and focus, but the effects of ADHD often go deeper or more complex than that. The ADHD iceberg may be a helpful analogy for highlighting the visible and invisible symptoms of ADHD. Let's look at the iceberg. A chunk of ice is visible above the water, but there is even more below the surface. Above the water, the tip of the iceberg represents the external symptoms of ADHD. Many people recognize, meanwhile, a much larger piece lies unseen beneath the water. So let's look at the tip. You can see the fidgeting, getting distracted, impulsive behavior, and concentration issues. So what kind of, the problems, or what are the other symptoms that we cannot see? Does anybody have any idea except those things? Because everybody looks those things: the behavior problems, distraction, fidgeting, and concentration. Is there anything else?
About the constant internal monologue.
Yeah.
Executive function issues.
Good. Anybody else? Okay. So let's look at the whole. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
And rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
Okay.
Is it true females show that in a different way than males, more like with anxiety?
You know what? Mostly it depends on. We are going to talk about this one. Maybe in a couple of slides. So it's not about a gender thing. It's about the environmental. It's about the personality. It's about the treatment. It's not about a gender.
Also often sensory issues.
Yes.
Absolutely. The one thing I will add is with any of the different non-visible disorders, it's almost unique to each individual how it manifests itself. These are certainly things that we see amongst many, but don't think that any of them may or may not present themselves at different times at different ages.
So when we look at, the under the water, there are lots of things going on, like challenges focusing, relationship challenges, information processing issues, sleep issues, mood shifts, poor time management, poor memory, executive dysfunction, emotional dysregulation, forgetting to take care of basic needs. So I think there are lots of things going on. And all kids and all people, I don't want to say just the kids, and everybody has a different, challenging thing. They may have all together, they can show all symptoms, or they can just, have a couple of them. So when we look at this one, there are three sections, the ADHD: hyperactive, impulsive, inattention, and combination. Inattention and inattentive, they are the same things. Basically, when you look at those, the pictures, you can see that the main issues are staying focused on task, doesn't listen or daydreams, lose things frequently, difficulty organizing tasks and activities. We usually just, recognize those four usually, but there are lots of things in attention. Those are fail to pay close attention to details or make careless mistakes, have trouble staying focusing in tasks, appear not to listen even when you spoken to directly, have difficulty following through on instruction and fail to finish work or chores, have trouble organizing tasks and activities, avoid or dislike tasks that require focused mental effort, lose items needed for tasks or activities. For example, most of you recognize the Scots. They usually forget their books, or at the camp during the dinner time, they forgot to put on their uniforms. So those type of things. Forget and be easily distracted. Forget to do some daily activities, such as forgetting to do chores. Those are the inattention ones. And hyperactive and impulsive one, we only see those, the fidgeting or run around, trouble with quiet activities, and waiting turns. Those are the basic ones, but there are lots of things like the other ones going on. So those are,
Patek,
yep.
there was a question raised in regards to rejection. Could you speak a little bit more as to how that manifests itself, or where that comes from in the ADHD topic on the iceberg?
Oh, I'm sorry. The rejection part is those kids, they are only focusing on the things that they like, and the thing, oh, I'm sorry. Is that so they only focus on the things that they like. But when you insist them to do something, or they have to do something, the rejection, started. They don't want to do it because that's the nature of this ADHD. They only want to do what they want to do. That's the biggest issue in this ADHD. So the point is just,
No, that's, I misunderstood. The question actually was in regards to a statement that was made from one of our people in the crowd here in regards to rejection sensitivity dysphoria. If somebody could explain that. I'm not aware of what that is myself.
If you'd like me to speak about it just briefly, I can explain it.
Sure.
go ahead.
Hi, Peggy McCann. I have 2 children with ADHD, and a lot of times with kids who do have ADHD, they can perceive other children as like they're so perfectionistic that they don't necessarily want to put themselves out there if they can't get it right. So they're worried about the feedback they're going to get from other kids, even if they're not going to fail. So they're already putting themselves in this kind of, I shouldn't try because I might get it wrong. And that people it's like this dysphoria surrounding other people's interpretations of what they do, which may or may not be bad. But they're just a little more hypersensitive to other people's perceptions. So they just might have some of that internal monologue of things that might be more perceived as doom and gloom about what people might think about them versus what is actually reality.
And also, I'm sorry, and also those kids, those or those people feel more embarrassed or self-conscious, and they have low self-esteem and self-doubt, and engaging in negative self-talk. So you can see all those symptoms with those, the people, and they usually have difficulty managing their reactions, and also suddenly they become quiet, moody, the mood swings you can see more in those, the people. I don't know how. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you for sharing that, Peggy. Appreciate it.
thank you, Peggy. And the hyperactive one is fidget with or tap his or her legs or feet, and they usually have difficulty staying seated or be on to go, constant motions, run and climb, have trouble playing or doing activities quietly. They cannot be quiet, and they talk too much, and especially you can see that they interrupt a questioner, usually the leaders. They want to say what they want to say. They don't want to listen. Have difficulty waiting for his or her turn, and interrupt or intrude on others' conversation, usually, or games or activities. So I'd like to show you a kind of short video. It's like 2 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, just
Of course, it always goes perfectly when we are practicing, but then when we go to the lives, that is what it is.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm not really good at, the text. So let's just, make it, I can share. Okay, I can share. So can everybody see?
Yes, but we can't hear. So what you want to do is you want to pause your video, and then in the lower, so in the Zoom controls panel, there should be like three vertical dots. If you click on that, there should be an option to share system sound or share computer sound or something like that. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
So now, sorry, can you hear now?
Yes.
If you have ADHD, you might feel like you have a lot more energy than others, find it hard to pay attention, get distracted easily, find it hard to sit still, or not shout out or interrupt others.
Lots of people feel like this sometimes, but for someone with ADHD, it might feel like this most or all of the time. This can get in the way of doing important things, like in school with homework and friendships. This can sometimes get them into trouble more than others.
Not everyone with ADHD has the same difficulties. ADHD can appear in different ways at different times for different people. That's why sometimes it's hard to tell who has it.
Some people may also have difficulties with reading, spelling, or being clumsy. Some may have difficulties communicating with people or have bigger emotions than others, like feeling more worried, sad, or angry.
Scientists have found that the brains of people with ADHD can work in a special way, including parts of the brain that help with things like attention, stopping and waiting before doing things, and organising thoughts or actions.
For me, ADHD feels like you are watching TV, listening to music, and talking to someone all at the same time. It's really hard to know what to pay attention to. A special doctor can tell if you have ADHD. They will speak to you, your family, and your teachers to find out more about you and think very carefully before deciding if somebody has ADHD or not. They will also talk about the type of help you might need. Knowing that you have ADHD can help you and others understand you better. You might need help with things that you find hard, and that's okay. It's important to find out what these are and talk to your family, teacher, or doctor about it.
I think it's just about a summary of all, the things we talked about so far.
There are some things that you might be able to.
Let's go back to our slides. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I'm going to share. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, go ahead. While you're doing that, I just thought I'd fill in. And there one question that did come out that got asked if we would share the presentation. We absolutely will share the presentation. Everything we have here is stuff we want people to see and know all about. So the more we get it out, the better off it is the way we look at it. Put it that way.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to our slides. So ADHD is a widespread condition which has...
You are not, hey, Petek, you're not sharing yet.
I'm not sharing. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. The ADHD is a widespread condition which has to be taken really seriously. In many units, there are scouts who have ADHD. In this regard, leaders and parents' collaboration is very important. So let's look at this, the leaders-parent collaboration thing. The aims and methods of scouting program make it an outstanding opportunity for those with ADHD characteristic to develop and enhance the skills that can be lead to success in school, in relationship with others, and in life. Scouts with ADHD have highly positive characteristics that can be benefit the troop pack when they are encouraged and supported by parents and leaders. We need to focus on Scout strengths. Scouts who have ADHD are, when I ask, say, what do you think about the Scouts with ADHD? What do you think about them? You just think that they are fidgeting, they are talking too much, they are, interrupting and running around. So what do you think? The Scouts, does anybody have a Scout in your unit that has ADHD? So what do you think?
Sarah, you can go ahead and speak right up.
Yeah, so they're really creative and out of the box thinkers.
Great.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts?
Yeah, my son is also ADHD, and I am as well, actually. And he's always the leader of the pack when it comes to physical activity, right? When they go hiking, things like that, building fires, because it plays to all of his strengths, right? Moving around, activity. He likes to be doing things. And so he's always first in line to volunteer to help set up tents or help set up pavilions or help cook or do dishes or anything that involves moving around a lot and a constant change in situation.
Absolutely. Energy is something anybody with ADHD does not lack until they do.
Yeah. So you know what? That Scouts who have ADHD are energetic and they are bright. They are exceptional. and they are unique. Mostly they are very creative and they are very excited, you know. So we have to just look at from this perspective, not they are just fidgeting and running around. So they are awesome. Let's look at it's essential for parents and Scout leaders to work together collaboratively. So what do we need to do? First, encourage parents to let you know if their Scout has ADHD so that you can find out what his or her needs are, their strengths and their challenges. All this information help you to understand how the Scouts learn best and give you an opportunity to develop a plan to support him or her better. And encourage parents to fill out ISAP before you start working with ADHD Scouts. Does everybody have an idea about ISAP, the form?
No, we
Know
really
what an
don't
ISAP
know.
form is? Sorry. Could you elaborate on what that form actually stands for and where it is, please?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never heard of it.
It's an ISAP as an individual Scout achievement plan. You know, it's like the schools, they have IEP forms or the goals. Those kids are in IEP, individual education plan. In Scouting, we have an individual Scout achievement plan. So it's the same. You can just, in this, you know, ISAP is nothing more and nothing less. It's a kind of tool to help parents and leaders map out a plan for a Scout who has special needs. So in this one, what their abilities allow, what requirements they can fulfill as written, what merit badges they will be able to earn, what alternative requirements or alternative equal requirements, merit badges they can choose. So you're just going to list everything on that form. And then you and the parents and the leaders, they start, you know, collaborating and talking about, and you are going to make a kind of road plan, the map for your Scout. So they shouldn't supposed to follow the same things, or the requirements are the same, but you can just make some little modifications for these Scouts. So those information, this form is going to help leaders how they can modify those things for your Scout. And after the presentation tonight, I'm going to send the whole PDF file, and there's a link over there. So you can just look at that form and you can share with your, you know, units. Okay. And encourage parents, I'm sorry. So also parents need to share some important information with the Scout leaders. And also encourage parents to consider getting trained to become a Scout leader. So that's really very important. They have to be involved.
I actually have a comment on that last point. Speaking as someone who is a parent of a kid with ADHD, but also has been involved in Scouting for a long time, it can be really hard to step away from parenting your kid versus Scout leadering your kid. And it can be really, really hard I mean, that's true for any parent actually. But I guess I just have one kid, so I don't know anything else. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that if those parents do get involved in Scouts, you should definitely encourage them to try hard to not be the ones disciplining their kid or redirecting or whatever. That, you know, you have an agreement with other leaders that if you see something that you think needs to be addressed, you poke the other leader and say, oh, hey, do you think this needs to be addressed? Versus you parenting the kid in the Scouts, because you want the kid to have the experience of, you know, being a Scout.
You know what?
Absolutely. Sarah, I'd just like to add, so I I have a son with multiple diagnoses, one of them being ADHD. He's also has NVLD and other anxiety and other things. He is currently an Eagle Scout. He's 27 years old, still actively involved in scouting as a leader now, not as a youth. He actually achieved Eagle prior to turning 18 and did not need any modifications. We were able to work with a bunch of different leaders that were extremely supportive. But one thing that my wife and I, who are both very active, still currently are, because we think it's the best program there is. That was one thing we said when we were in scouting. We were not your parents, and we were not going to act as parents. And it really is something to try and get that point across to parents, that you're there to support, but not to allow them to have the scouting experience, because we all know that the scouts learn quite a bit from each other and from their failures and successes. So that is definitely a tricky
I'm
one.
sorry. I just
And
would
so-
like to add, I'm sorry.
No, go
Um,
ahead.
I just would like to add, you know what? You're going to be the leader, but you're not going to work with your son one-on-one or as a patrol or as a Dan during the meeting. So the purpose, the encouraging parents to consider getting this training is because knowledge of scouting program will make it easier for them to communicate your Scout's needs, and they will become and also you're going to become an invaluable resource for other Scout with similar, the needs and the other parents. So whatever your Scout needs, you can help him out about scouting outside meeting. So you are not going to be the leader for your Scout during the meeting time, but you can help him out, with your scouting knowledge outside the meetings.
Well, and Sarah's point brings up another great point, which is that the leaders, specifically, the other leaders, non-parent leaders, should train themselves up on this kind of stuff, because like Sarah said, I struggle regularly. I'm assistant scoutmaster in our troop, as well as the district chair, but I go on all the camp outs and everything, and it's tough to differentiate between being a leader and being a parent, especially when some of the other leaders don't understand the ADHD portion of it, and they just think, well, he's acting out, or he's just being hyper or acting crazy. So it's so important to make sure that the other leaders have it. That's why I asked if I could have this presentation, so I can bring this to our district and use it in our meetings to help educate the other leaders, because that's so important. It's hard not to parent your kid when the other leaders don't understand how ADHD works, and they just want to reprimand because he's too hyper or he's fidgeting or whatever.
So that's why you need ISAP before you start scouting. So you're going to share the information with the Scout leaders. So they're not going to say that they're just hyperactive and they are running around. So they know the condition, and altogether you're just going to make a kind of, the road plan, the map together. So they know his needs too during that camp outs. And, I know it's hard to be a leader, but, all Scouts troop, they are Scout-led troop, scouting, those are Scout-led one. So I encourage all leaders, just let the kids do everything by themselves, as long as they are not going to harm anybody else. So they're going to handle everything together, so the kids understand each other better than the leaders.
All right, I don't mean to be, so that we can get through the whole presentation, we are certainly wanted to be as interactive as we're doing. I really appreciate everybody's involvement. The one thing I will add is that we as the committee are here to support everybody, not just the youth, not just the parents, but the leaders too. And I have sat down with a number of different leaders. We have done and will do presentations at roundtables or other, I've driven to, I live in Lamont, and I've driven to Indiana to do presentations at roundtables, at committee meetings and everything else, to help work through all of these different things. So let's, if you don't mind, can we continue on, and we'll get through a few more things and hopefully answer some more questions while we do it.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, mention something during, the info, there's something that you need to share with the leaders. For example, the equipment, assistive technology need, diagnosis, health issues, food restriction, medication, and allergies. So I just would like to, I don't want to talk too much about this. Those are some, the equipments and assistive technology needs. So you can see that, the iPad with Apple Pencil, you can send your kid or your Scott to the meeting. So those are all you can design, or you can give to those kids everything, all those things during the meeting. So they are not going to distract the meeting, or they are going to be more focused if they start using all these things. For example, iPad with Apple Pencil, allows ADHD scouts to complete requirements without hassle of disorganized papers and use apps to help to learn. And the most important thing is the graphic organizer. The graphic organizer minimizes stress on the working memory. So these kids, they will like to know what's coming next. So if you're just going to write down the whole schedule, the meeting schedule, they know what's coming next. So they are not going to be stressed. And there are some like the, the squeezables or the fidgeters. Those also helps them to release tension, boosts focus, and especially the fidgeters with the rubber one. They're so quiet and nobody is going to recognize that he's doing fidgeting. So that's a good one for the meeting. And the other thing is chair rubber band. This is really important because most kids, they just would like to, kicking and bouncing. They like it. So you can just put those rubber bands to the table legs or to the chairs so they can just, kick and bounce. So they are going to be okay. So you are going to be fine. So they don't need to make any noise. So they are more focused. And the markers on papers, just send the kids with markers, papers, or whatever those things. So while they are doodling, writing something, they are more focused on what the leaders are talking. And time timer is really important because at school, those kids usually do their activities using time timer. This is real perfect solution to time blindness and great way to build independency, and the time timer is really lifesaver for many ADHD families. So you can use that time timer for the meetings. And there's some spatial, the design disc seats. So they just really would like to move on their chairs. So you can just put those cushions. They are going to be more comfortable. And the other thing is there are ear defenders and earplugs, so they can reduce background noise, help to deal with sensory overload, and enhance concentration. And usually people, they are talking about those, the sensory room space or tent. It's kind of hard to do that during the meeting time. The best thing is you can just take the kids or the scouts to the hallway, and you can be with him and just set the timer and give some time and just wait till they get calmed down. Then they can relax and they can join the meeting again. Dave, is this? Oh, sorry. Diagnosis, health issues, medication recorded for ADHD are very important. They are written records of Scott's mental health and include information on evaluation, therapy, medication, and details of their treatment plan. So keep this information handy, enable you to be proactive in working with cause. So according to BSA, Dave, is that you? So you're going to talk about that medication, sorry.
That's quite all right, Kata. No worries. So ask the parents to make sure that they keep the scouts on their medication schedule all of the time. It does nobody any benefit for the scouts or their leaders or anybody else for medication vacations when the kids go to camp, because all it does is create more issues for them. If they're on medication, that's okay. It's not a problem, right? Just make sure that everybody, everything is on their medical form and everything is followed as far as the BSA policy. It certainly is best for all of us to be following along with what can best help the scout and do their things correctly. So after a scout leader has obtained all the necessary information, they can agree to accept the responsibility of making sure the scout takes the necessary medications at the appropriate times. But the BSA policy does not mandate nor necessarily encourage the scout leader to do so. So that you may, at some, depending on different camps, they do certainly manage medications different. Find out from your ADHD scout's parents what his medication needs are and make sure that you have what your council requires them to enable you to meet those needs. So some of the other things, next slide, Patek. All right, so scouts, they also struggle or may struggle with mental clarity if they have ADHD, and allergies can affect their cognitive scenario even further. I can share that my son, who we did not knew he had issues and was diagnosed from the age of about 2. He was very delayed with everything, and knew things were different shortly after birth. But we've been going to a neurologist since he was 2.5, and it wasn't until he was about 14 years old that we recognized, and it was because my wife had been doing some reading on her own, that gluten could be infecting him in a negative way. Literally within a matter of a week of removing gluten from his diet, many symptoms that he had for a number of his diagnoses were greatly reduced, to the point where when he went to the doctor, my wife did not mention it to the doctor. The doctor sent my son out of the room and asked my wife what was different, because she noticed it right away. So those are things that you maybe, certainly as a scout leader, you need to be aware, and hopefully the parents are sharing that information with everyone so that you don't have the negative consequences of what occurs when the scout, if they know they have allergies, what could occur. And we all know as youth, sometimes they will push those limits a little bit, even, and may not be the best rule followers when they're at camp. So they may try some of those things, and you need to be aware of what those effects may be also, right? Next slide. So there's no clear scientific evidence that ADHD is caused by diet or nutritional problems, but certain foods may play at least some role in affecting symptoms in a small group of kids. Food sensitivity can cause stomach aches, rashes, headaches, or in the case of ADHD, increased hyperactivity, impulsivity, and lack of concentration. So that's, as I said, you definitely need to make sure that you're sharing and the parents are sharing as much information as possible. It makes the life for the scout leaders and for the youth that much better throughout the whole process. So what are some effective strategies while working with adults with ADHD? You certainly want to make sure that you take a look at the ABC model behavior. It is easy to record. Data is collected in the individual's natural environment. While the method may be straightforward and simple, its implications are vast. One of the biggest challenges of the ABC model is that it takes time. It takes time to complete enough data to form a conclusion. When behavior change is desired, this approach is an effective method to use. The ABC of behavior approach has been used successfully by teachers, counselors, therapists, and other helping professionals to direct and modify both positive and negative behaviors in a variety of settings. Antecedents are the events and actions of circumstances that occur before a behavior, are things like a stimulant that precedes some other event, or stimulus that often elicits signals or sets the occasion for a particular behavior or response. The antecedent refers to what happens to provoke or cause the behavior. So we want to look at that before we make any conclusion or think that it is all caused by what may have just happened, right? What led up to it. Common antecedents that can trigger maladaptive behavior include unstructured time, especially for youth transitions. I know personally, when my son was younger, if we had told him we were going to do something and then on the last minute we changed that plan, it was all over. You may as well give up for the next half hour to 45 minutes because it took at least that amount of time for him to be able to handle that change. You needed to make the plan and stick to it. When thinking about antecedents, it's important to consider where the behavior occurred. So what was the environment? When the behavior happened, was it after being tired? Was it during some certain activity? Those kinds of things. Who was near the individual when the behavior occurred? Is there somebody who is an antagonist or a protagonist to the behaviors? So is it he or she reacting to somebody else? That certainly is an issue there. And it also could be that they do not want to be involved in that, in whatever is going on in that activity, so they'll start doing something else on their own. So when you look at the behavior, it can be positive or problematic. Positive behaviors are those that are beneficial to an individual or the people around them, and problematic behaviors are those that cause problems for the individual. These problems could be severe, a threat to health or safety, or very counterproductive to whatever is going on. Consequences are actions that occur directly after the behavior in response to the behavior. Consequences can be used to either encourage or extinguish the behavior depending on whether the behavior is desired or unwanted. Pathetic?
You're muted, Peta.
Sorry. Okay. So I just would like to give an example. It's just one simple one. For example, the leader gives a scout a rope to teach how to make a square knot. The scout throws the rope on the floor. And the consequence is the leader asks the scout to pick up the rope. And the other can be just ignored. But the second one, we never want in our meetings. Because the kids are in scouting, we never ignore any scouts. So what can be our effective strategy during the meeting? So that's very important. We first give frequent feedback and attention to positive behavior. And create a routine and stick with it. Praise your scout when they start or complete any activity you ask them to do. And be specific, that's very important. Tell them exactly what they did well. Praise them right after they complete the action, or you're not going to praise them, after the meeting or the closing, because they have to know what they did correct. And Use visual prompts to remind your scout your expectation, such as using simple hand signals with your words or something like this. Give your scouts physical rewards for engaging in the right behavior. It's just like a kind of, maybe a small patch or a little kind of pin or a sticker. When you look at the scout behavior, use positive. We supposed to use positive feedbacks more than negative one. So let's think about it. Piggy bank. If the bank is empty, negative consequence won't work. For example, the debits. If you criticize the kids, always give the commands and punish and blame them, and they start be shame or start a conflict. So those are not the things we are expecting or we would like to see in our meetings. We just would like to look at the deposit, we always be in, we have to praise them or Scott center play. So that's very important. When do something good, maybe you can just give 3 or 4 minutes. Just set the timer and they can enjoy what they want to do in just like a short minute. So it's a center play time. Enjoyable activities, just try to make something enjoyable. And validation and rewards, they are very important during the meeting. Yes, Dave, I think it's your turn now. We start talking about more in our camps and the other things. So Dave is gonna take.
Let me get back over to it. Next slide, right? We want to make sure that we give a frequent feedback. In fact, Sarah made a very good comment in the chat that we want to certainly emphasize the positive. Many of these youth hear a lot of the negative side and the don't do that, stop that, stop this. We want to make sure that we're creating a positive environment and making it rewarding for them, just like anybody else. We all want to have hear the positive feedback more than we want to hear negative feedback. Be sensitive to the influences that ADHD have on emotion. As we stated much earlier, that youth and adults with ADHD can experience quite a bit of emotion swings and heightened emotions. Provide extra warnings before transitions and change in routines. You want to make sure that they understand that children with ADHD may become deeply absorbed in activities that interest them. And when you need to transition them, give them a 5-minute warning, right? That's at best a good way to start, and then just start shifting them over to it. Don't make it as sudden and that they weren't expecting those kinds of things to happen. If you've got a large task that needs to get done, that could be very overwhelming with someone with ADHD, and you want to chunk those things up, meaning break them down into very short activities and then connect them all together. Let them see the successes that each time they get through that first portion of it, let them figure it out. I will say from a personal experience that just teaching my son to tie his shoes, he went through all kinds of occupational therapy. They wrote down how many steps it took to tie a knot in a shoe. It was over 150 steps that we don't think about at all when we do it. But imagine what it's like for somebody's mind who's scattering all over the body and having so many things run through it and getting distracted by the other noises that may be going on around them. So that is certainly something we as adult leaders need to consider. Certainly, I think the Pair with a Buddy is a spectacular and a very useful tool. Find a youth that is able to that the youth with the disability, especially ADHD, looks up to and is willing to listen to them. As we said, you know, we don't want you to be the parent in the unit. Let the kids work with the kids. At the Scouts BSA level, certainly in a den, if there is a member in the den that is a good friend, great to pair them up. So we, as we've talked about here, don't downplay what may be happening with any Scouts behavior. Small things frustrate or worry them, and they can't let them go. It's hard for them to cool off after something upsetting has happened. It may keep resurfacing itself over time. They view even gentle criticism as an insult or an attack. When they want something, they feel they need to have it right away. Their highs are high and their lows are low, much lower than the average person. The emotional symptom of ADHD can be managed in several ways. As we said, you don't want to downplay it. They need a safe space to talk about their emotions. Listen to them. Let them talk to you. You may be a better person for them to talk to than their parent, right? Make a list of some of the coping skills that you could use. There are ways to help Scouts feel better during stressful moments without hurting themselves or others. Get them to relax, be their friend, let them listen to some comfortable music, do whatever it takes to make them enjoy the Scouting program as much as the rest of the youth. Patrick, I think we are on to the next slide. I think I've lost myself on the slides. So as we said, make sure we provide extra warning time or changes in routine. That 5-minute warning going up that we're going to be changing activities is always helpful. Break the transition down into small, manageable steps. Give instructions slowly. Make sure that they understand them. Ask them to tell them, to give the instruction back to you as best they can. And make sure you break it down. Give them a little extra time too. Remember that what's going on in their brain is a little different than what is in everyone else's, and they may not finish as quickly. So it may be beneficial to also, if you're trying to get something done at the same time, to have a whatever you're working on, be it just some activity, have it partially done for that individual, or shorten the steps so they don't have as much to do. Sarah, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about executive function, unless you're going to be talking about that more in future slides.
You can certainly speak right up.
So one thing that I thought I learned that was very interesting is that because brain development happens differently in kids with ADHD, their executive function age is often a lot younger than their actual age. And I was just looking it up. I can't quite remember, but I feel like it's something like 2/3 of their actual age. And so that is to say, you shouldn't expect a kid with ADHD to be able to plan necessarily or execute, like planning and organization functions like a kid their age. Sort of take 2/3 of their age, and that's about the planning and organization age they'll be at. And that particularly plays a role, I think, in Cub Scouts. I mean, it starts to be less, sort of less obvious at the Scouts BSA level, but in Cub Scouts, it seems like they're so much younger, in terms of emotional regulation and planning and stuff. So it's just something to remember.
Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, I think the biggest thing I can stress is you do not want to set have the expectations of what you think should be done work with the parents and make sure that the expectations are not way too high or set too low, because you don't want you want them to push their limits. We're trying to do that with every youth in scouting, right? We don't want them. It's a safe place to try new things, and that's what makes it such a wonderful place in my mind for youth with any kind of special needs. That it brings what kids with special needs bring to the program is a lot of skills and opportunity for the other youth that may not understand the disability to learn about it themselves and become more empathetic and more willing to work in a group with those settings, and not reduce bullying, reduce any kinds of issues that occur often in many of those situations. I think we've talked plenty about chunking things down. Give a certain, we want to make sure we get things into small pieces so that they can accomplish everything, give them the praise when they get it done. And then give them a few minutes to relax and start over again with the next activity. Racing from one to the other, as you said, their minds are in fast motion to begin with. They need some downtime to recover. So one of the other things to do, just to make sure that they're staying on task and not losing themselves, and is to keep an eye on them, stay close to them, or have their buddies stay close to them. Not that we're trying to hover, but just to check in and make sure things are there, and that you're there to support them, that they know that they can turn to you if they need to. Give them somewhere where they can jump away and move around and use some of that energy, get it out in a good way, and come back and do what they need to do. It certainly is going to help, all youth to get. They aren't going to be able to sit as long as we as adults are sitting. Give them some time to get the fidgeties out and bring them back to the table and let them start over again. They might even need a quiet space, right? But don't give them an excuse or the freedom to not follow the rules. They need to know exactly what the rules are and limitations so that they can stick by them. You do not do them any favor by making the expectations more lenient for anybody who has ADHD than as a kid without any disability. And don't get involved. You certainly don't want to get involved with putting them in power struggles with you or with other scouts. Those we don't want. We want to avoid those kinds of situations and avoid inconsistency in the enforcement of the rules and the consequences. We want to make sure that everybody sees the same consequences and has the same expectations. All right. ADHD is not an excuse for uncontrollable behavior. Discuss agreements that work for what scouts and set up accommodations in advance. Don't wait until after the event has started. If you think there may be some situations, maybe you need to have those conversations with the youth and with the parent, depending on the situation, and set the guidelines so that they know what they're walking into prior to them getting there. And certainly you want to anticipate any dangerous situations. Children occasionally act angry or defiant around adults or respond aggressively when they are upset. Try to notice what part of the meeting or events are hardest for that scout. Act with empathy when your scout is angry. Provide opportunities to talk about the frustration and work to regulate your own emotions when your scout is angry. Certainly that's why it is better for a leader to not be the parents, because you don't want to always be the one providing those interfaces, right? So what to avoid with a scout who has ADHD as you being the leader? Try not to raise your voice. That certainly doesn't do any good to get their attention. That just is going to frustrate them more. Don't insist on having the last word. Let them speak out. Leave it at that. Just move on. If you create yourself into a tense posture, it is only going to get that. It just, and not even just a youth with ADHD. These things are things we should all avoid anyway, right? We don't want to insult or embarrass any scout, but certainly bribery is not something we want to use. We certainly want to, instead of saying and using bribery and giving them, give them acknowledgement, give them rewards. You're not after the fact, not prior to. And remember that what is happening is a symptom of their disorder. It is not their personal character or anything else that's going on. So you don't, it doesn't, all these things are absolutely against the scout, both in the scout law, right? And certainly don't hold any grudges. I'd say that's probably the one thing I can say I am easy for me, but I know it's for a lot of others. They remember what happened at times before and use that in a negative way on certain things when they happen. So how should we deal with camping with scouts who are with ADHD? Some scouts diagnosed with ADHD can be fraught with disappointment, anxiety, and frustration. However, BSA summer camp programs have a wide spectrum of activities that foster communication, creativity, and ingenuity. They are designed to empower children to make healthy choices, learn more about themselves, overcome challenges, and relate lessons learned from these experiences to aspects of their lives back at home. Camping adventure may help your child develop problem-solving skills, effective communication strategies, increase self-awareness, and social skills. Almost every BSA summer camp is going to have a ton of information on their website. Read it and come up with a list of questions or concerns that you might have. Attend any pre-camp meetings and take advantage of their opportunity to ask your questions. If the camp you're attending has already had their meeting, you can contact the camp director directly with any questions you may have, and make sure you have up-to-date BSA medical forms. Extremely important. Include any information about allergies and medications. If your scout needs to share a tent with an adult or for his or her medical reasons, you must contact the scout executive of whatever council you're from. Obviously, ours is Pathway to Adventure. That has to be approved for outside of Cub Scouts, obviously, for an adult to be sleeping in the same tent as a youth. As an adult leader, you need to make sure you participate in the camp's presentations and pre-camp meetings. Read the leader's guide. Be prepared so you'll be familiar with the camp's program, schedule, and physical layout. That's going to be very beneficial for any youth that might be scattered, right? Organize an informational meeting with your unit. Make sure the parents have an opportunity to voice any concerns or questions and help them understand what's going to happen. Go over the routine with the scouts and their families so everyone knows what is expected. Review the camp schedule with everyone. So the other things that's as far as what camping is involved with, at least as long-term camps and short-term camps. The other thing we want to make sure that you're aware of is that if you have a youth who has some challenges, they can be physical or mental disabilities, you can achieve the Eagle rank utilizing different, you can get modifications to what merit badges and rank requirements are for Eagle Scout. All of that goes through the Council Advancement Committee, and there are forms that you need to provide to them for them to make the decisions on what modifications are going to be accepted. But certainly that is something we as the Pathway to Adventure Council Special Needs Committee can help anyone with. And in closing, we have a little video that Patrick wants to show. And then we certainly will take some more questions. We've got some time left. And all of those, as she went through, there's a number of references that we used to put together this presentation that we will share with everybody here on the list. We'll be ready to answer any additional questions here once we get the video all set up.
Okay, sorry about again.
See, this is a test for Patrick. Don't worry, Patrick.
I'm old. That's what I said. I'm not really. Now I'm going to share. Okay. Can you see?
Not yet. There we go.
ADHD diagnosis born that we knew fairly soon after he was born that there was something totally challenging about him.
ADHD diagnoses in the United States for school kids has increased by 43% in less than 10 years.
This was the first time a teacher ever mentioned ADHD. I was super offended.
A big part of me thought it was a bogus diagnosis.
I'm yelling at him and I'm like, Reese, what is wrong with you? And he'll come back with something like, everything, Dad. And then I immediately feel awful.
Teachers were like, you need to focus better because of my hyperactivity.
I didn't understand. Why doesn't this picture become clear to me?
Is she not trying hard enough? Is she not applying herself?
Imagine somebody sitting on the keys of the computer. That's ADHD.
As a parent, the thing that bothers me the most are the friend issues.
I was just a quirky, out of control kid with very few friends.
He wanted the medicine, and he was the one that said, I think if I have it, my friends and my teachers will like me better.
They wanted Bear to be expelled from school, which means he missed graduating.
I got suspended from school.
I got a call from a police officer. Person at the juvenile detention center says he'll be here all weekend.
Just unbelievable.
The flip side of distractibility is curiosity. What's that? What's that? What's that? If you didn't care, you wouldn't get distracted.
I'm a risk taker. I'm creative.
Processing all of these screens in front of me, the more intense it gets, the better I am.
Zara's a brilliant writer.
He has a lot of skills, like to ask questions, to be argumentative, to push boundaries.
Around ADHD, there's tremendous ignorance. Most people are not aware of the positives that go with it.
It just grinds you down into thinking you're stupid.
Can't sit still, disorganized, can't focus, lazy, stupid.
You can't make it. You never listen, you don't clean your room.
It's a super skill set. And what people think.
Okay, so you can see all those, the famous people. They are energetic, they are exceptional, they are unique, and they are really creative, and they're very famous. So, if you just lead our scouts in the right track, to the right direction, so they're going to be a really, if they get a really good, experience during their, the scouting, their troop, their band, their pack, so they're going to enjoy it. Anything else? Dave,
there was one question that got brought up about a form for an adult sleeping with their child and Scouts BSA. I am not aware that there is an actual form, but providing the documentation to either your the advancement committee or the DE, I think you'll be able to, I don't have the direct answer, but I think they will be able to address that specifically. It is with very few nowadays because of youth protection. It is, there has to be extreme situations for it.
David, I think there's no form about this one, and the parents directly should contact with the council, the executive, and send every, the medical forms and everything about Scout, and he or she is gonna make the decision. So there's no other form. That's the only person they have to talk about that situation.
Is there any other additional questions from anybody? Comments, things we may have missed?
I have a question. So I have some friends out of the area who are struggling a little bit with convincing their, Scout leaders, like they are also a Scout leader, but convincing Scout masters and things that that this is a thing, right? And that Scouts with ADHD need additional accommodations. What would you suggest? Would you suggest, trying to find a different troop? Or would you suggest, trying to, because I think some people, are disinclined to believe in ADHD, or, you know what I mean?
Sure. No, I 100% agree. I'm sorry, but
it's sometimes really hard to convince adults than the kids. So it's really hard sometimes to convince those, the leaders. You know what? The first thing is I have to look at the, the peers. If he's happy over there, so as a parent, you have to find another idea instead of just, changing the troop. That's my idea. So you can get help from the special needs committee, from your district or your council. So somebody is going to reach out the troop and try to settle or make the agreement between the parents and the leaders. You can get a help. If the leaders cannot be satisfied, I think the last thing is to changing the troop. That's my idea.
I would say for two reasons. I agree 100%, but it is certainly not something that is out of the question. But I for everyone's benefit, if you can provide the assistance for the leadership, everyone will benefit. Certainly, I will say, as a parent and as a leader, I struggled at times, right? But what I ended up getting out of the program, because of working with youth with special needs, exceeded, and at least in my opinion, what they got. So there is the benefit goes both ways, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. And but it does take effort. And I understand, as a parent with a child with special needs, sometimes you don't have the bandwidth to deal with all of that. So the solution for you and your individual youth may be to change youths. But certainly I can speak for myself, and I think I can speak for just about anybody in our committee. If there's somebody outside, because we know that there are not special needs committees across all councils. We're here to help any youth, any Scout leader. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to try and help somebody else out of a different council if they called me and asked me for some assistance and how they could handle a situation.
So I think I just would like to add what we talk about that. That's why we encourage parents to getting trained to become a scout leader themselves, to help their kids and the other kids in their troop. So if there are a couple of, the adults train about those, the special need things, I think that will be very helpful in troop level. So that's why you need to involve more. Or you can just find the other, the people who believe in those things and help the scouts. It doesn't matter that they have a kid, the special need, the kids. So everybody knows that those things are real and they need help. And scout leaders, they are there for the scouts and their needs. So they have to understand.
I have to say though, if you're struggling in a troop and you're feeling like you're not getting the support you need, absolutely go and check out another troop, because there might be one that fits your scout better. I mean, you just never know what maybe it's a change of the day, or maybe it's a different group of people, or maybe there's other scouts in the troop already. Maybe they already have experience. And so it's definitely not something that I would just be like, I'm not you don't want to beat a dead horse, really.
No, absolutely. Don't exhaust your energy trying to fix something else that you can't fix. You want the experience for your child to be a positive one. So please don't get me wrong. I agree 100%. Go take a look at other units. I did put my email address and my cell phone number in the chat. Like I said, we're here as to help anybody out. If we don't have the answers, we usually can find where we can get the answer for you. So if time permits, I will come out to anybody's presentation and help try to educate anybody and everybody about our committee and about what scouting with special needs is all about.
Great. Thank you so much. I have a quick question for you, Dave. I run the Iron Horse Roundtable, and I wondered, we were talking about introducing like a special needs minute type thing. Do you have it? I didn't know if that's already a thing in some places. Maybe there's a list of topics that, I could draw on rather than just coming up with them out of my own head, or.
So there is ablescouting.com is one you can go find certain things. I don't know of an actual list for a minute, but we certainly try to put them together ourselves for, out of presentations like this and everything else.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much.
And I know plenty of people down in Iron Horse, so.
Yeah, we've got Bill Egan. He's great.
Bill is my brother-in-law.
Oh, really?
My wife and Rita are sisters. It's a small world.
I just want to say that I really appreciate this forum, and I feel that it's such a positive opportunity to open up conversation regarding this, and especially with your focus on really looking at the strength-based opportunities that these scouters can bring to the table. Because from my children's experience, I know my one that has inattention or has hyperactivity issues, the summer camp experience was so positive for him because of the fact of the dopamine deficiency for ADHDers. And a lot of times they can fill up that dopamine tank by having all of the activity. So for him, I felt that he was so incredibly organized during that week of camp because of the demands, the physical activity demands that summer camp provided. And I have never seen him so calm. So it was such a wonderful thing where I think that if there's a lot of families that have apprehensions about having them go for an extended period of time for summer camp, that it's actually a really good thing, especially in today's day and age, because kids don't have the opportunity to have that type of aggressive physical activity to fill up that dopamine tank. So I just wanted to share that I really appreciated the sensory strategies and the sensory diet suggestions. Another thing you may want to try is with, instead of having the scout who happens to have ADHD, removing them from a situation, rather maybe making it a troop activity for a movement activity. So then they can still remain within the troop environment instead of being excluded. So, there just might be some other things that each scouter might need or want, but I think that you touched on so many wonderful things, and I just feel so happy and where my children are being supported and growing in their scouting journey with all the creativity and the things they bring to the table too.
Also, I'm sorry. I also shared the ISAP form in our chat. So you can just click on that and get that form from that link. But I think the end of this presentation tonight or tomorrow, I don't know. We are going to share all those presentations, the slideshow, and the PDF file with you.
Everybody who is registered, even if you didn't make it, you'll get the whole presentation. And just we are available through the website, through the PTAC website. If you come up with other questions or comments, concerns,
Dave freeze.
Oh, I see. Dave. Oh yeah, he's here.
All right. I was going to say there are a few comments that are questions that wanted to be asked off recording. So if everybody is okay with it, I'm going to turn the recording off.